Hello everybody and welcome to a long overdue updated career mode tutorial in Kerbal Space Program. There's been a lot of changes in the game recently. We're now at version 1.4.1 with a DLC out, so I figured it was about time to start over. So we're going to go ahead and start a new game right here. And we're going to call it as much as career tutorial. Why not? I'm going to leave the difficulty options to normal. I'm not going to make any changes, so it'll be easy for you guys to follow along. So let's get right to it and start it. And here we are at the Kerbal Space Center. And as you can see, you start out with Gene Kerman, basically taking you through a little bit of a tutorial. You can pause the video and read that. I'm not going to go ahead and spend my time reading that. So I'm going to say thanks, I've got it. And as you can see, we have 0 science and very little money. Let's go into the research development, because in this this first tutorial in the series is going to be we're going to get to the aviation, and we're going to need a total of 73 science to unlock the aviation node right here. So let's get started. The very first part is going to be, how do you get science? Well, the very first thing you need to do is check your mission control. It's that little pixel of a building right here. It's pretty small in the start of career mode, and we're going to pick up the top two missions right here. Gather scientific data from Kerbal. That should be easy enough. You can do that anywhere. And launch our first vessel. Like that. Now, I know you can overpower your ship, and get into orbit with just the rocket booster, but we're not going to do that in this one. The way I play is kind of a little bit of a role play, kind of realistic-ish. Anyway, so let's go and launch our first vehicle. Well, we're going to build it first. And here we have Werner von Kerman. Got it. And I'm going to go ahead and just pick the MK1 command pod, and down in the utility, put a little parachute on there. Don't forget that. And the only engine we have is a little RT5, the Flea. Tiny little thing. But it's got some power. In case you're not familiar, this is your staging area. It's showing, right now it's showing stage 0. That is because it's only one stage, so if I were to launch right now, I would fire the engine and pop the chutes at the same time, and that would be a disaster. So you get little plus and minus. You can add a little node, add a stage, and we're going to move our engine. You can see it highlighting. We're going to move our engine down into the first stage right there. And now we're ready to launch. I'm not going to save this craft. You can if you want to go back and look at it and just give it whatever name you want. Description. So let's launch it. And we are on the launch pad, but before, remember, we need 73 science, so we're going to have to be pretty meticulous, getting as much science as we can. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab right click on your command pod and grab crew report. Can't talk. And you want to keep that. And here's a little trick I've learned. You can go on EVA while you're on the ground and grab an EVA report. And what you want to do is right click on your command pod while you're outside and take the data and then board. That gives you another crew report you can take when you're in the air, so you get a little bit more science. So let's go ahead and launch this little craft. I'll put the SAS on for why not, and let's launch it in 3, 2, 1, and we're shooting upward like a bullet. Let's go ahead and lean it out towards the ocean. Doesn't have a lot of juice, but it sure gets you up in the air. Can we make it at 10,000? I'll grab a crew report right here and keep that data. Okay, we're at 12,000. We can't go on EVA right now because we haven't unlocked it yet. I'm going to go ahead and time warp a little bit so it doesn't take all that long. And pop the ship. Oh boy, we're coming in like a lawn dart. No, Jebediah. Well, that was that was close. Yeah. Oh, man. And yeah, go ahead and roll out. And since you're now in a different biome, you can go on EVA and do another EVA report like that. And guess what? I'm going to take the data again, board my ship, and do a crew report out here in the ocean. Pretty nice. And then all you need to do is recover the vessel. And that got us 29 science. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, got some earned some money because we did some missions, and yeah, we're still not all the way there. So we're gonna go ahead and unlock the basic rocketry, and what's this one called again? Engineering 101. And as you notice, this one has a science module. And we still have 19 science, so let's go ahead and unlock the stability. All right, and now all we need is 44 science. Okay, as you see, a lot more missions have opened up. I am just going to pick up these two: escape the atmosphere and orbit Kerbal. We're not going to do the orbit thing today. We're just gonna try to escape the atmosphere. So let's go and build a craft out that's able to do that. Let's get rid of the flea. We have some more parts now, so this is pretty good. Go into your coupling, grab a decoupler, and put the little fuel tanks on. I'm not going to go into too much details about the rocket I'm building because we're actually focusing on aircraft today. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up. Yellow. Alright. First thing, before we launch it, and before the rocket falls over, observe the mystery goo here on the planet. You're going to get 3 science. And we are going to go ahead and log that temperature. Get Jebediah out on EVA to take the data. Like so. I don't think you can get any more from the EVA now. Anyways, let's board the... well, let's take this data too while we're at it. Yeah, remove data, just in case we lose it. Okay, we are back in the ship, so it's time for another launch in 3, 2, 1. SAS on. Let's go ahead and lean it over just a smidge. And this is our goal, is to get out of the atmosphere in this first run. And that is where I'm going to do the rest of my science. And since we've collected the data off the thermometer, we can use it again. So the first thing, observe the mystery goo. 10 science. Do a crew report. We got 5 science. And right click, 8 science. Now all that's left is math, and I don't remember how much we have. Okay, let's go ahead and decouple that. We're good to go. Get ourselves into a retrograde. Retrograde. Now, you may have noticed I have this gimbal, or this artificial horizon on the left-hand side. I just find it's pretty nice for making videos because you can make it a little bit bigger and still doesn't block anything, even in the map. You can bring up the map and you see the whole planet. Doesn't really get in the way over there. Okay, let's fast forward and re-enter this atmosphere without killing poor old Jebediah. You have no idea how many times he's died in my hands. Fast forward that a little bit. It looks like we're getting a land on land, which is fine. Yeah, I'm not going to get into details on the orbit because that is going to be the next episode of this tutorial series. We're going to be doing this one is aircraft, the next one is going to be orbit, and after that intercepting, fly by the moon, orbiting, fly by Minmus after that again, and then eventually landing, and then docking. That is kind of want to go through the basics of the game in different categories so you guys can focus on one thing, but the first one is a little bit longer because of all the science you need to get to unlock the different parts. Later on it gets easier to collect the science. So that's my plan anyway. So that's why I'm not going into any details about the rockets I build, because that will be covered in the next episode. And now we're gonna just wait for Jebediah. He's landing on the mountains. Yeah, mountains, more like hills. Yep. And we are down safely on the ground. We are going to recover that vessel. How much science did we earn? Drum roll, please. 54 science. Do we have enough? Do we have enough to get to the aircraft? I think we do. Needed 45. Okay, so we have unlocked the very first thing you need for airplanes. Yeah, fairly 2 missions, 2 flights. Not too shabby. And we still got 9 science left over. Not enough to open up any of these. But anyway, next up is the space plane hangar and our very first plane. So I'll see you there in a bit. Alright, now is the moment you've all been waiting for. We're now in the space plane hangar. It's kind of a little dinky thing. You can only make a certain... If you look at this little icon down here, the engineer's report, you're limited to how big this aircraft can be. It can only be 18 tons and only 30 parts and not too wide, actually. Or not too long. So we're going to make a small aircraft. That's pretty much all we got parts for. First thing, I'm going to make... pick apart the MK1 cockpit and just pop it right there. Looks pretty good. Next thing is you're gonna need some fuel. Since we don't have any structural part for the aircraft, I'm using the fuel tanks as structure. So we're gonna grab 1 tank, which is, if you right click on it, you can see how much fuel you have. It is full. And for the next tank, I am going to empty it. Right click and just pull that, because you don't really need that much fuel in these airplanes. And we're going to make a tail, the little tail connector A, just to make it look good. You can just end it with a fuel tank. It really doesn't matter, but I think it looks better. We're going to need some wings. So the best thing I'll show you right now is, if you look down here, you have your center of mass and your center of aerodynamic overlay, and this is basically center of lift or whatnot. If you pick the center of mass, you see you get a little icon, and you kind of wonder, what is that? But this is showing me that the center of mass is up here. So what I'm going to do, I am going to switch out. I'm going to switch out, put the tank in the back. Right? That way it's more center aircraft. You don't have to do this, but it makes it a lot easier. Now in the old tutorial I did, I used the swept wings, and I realized way later these are not the easiest ones to fly with. So we're gonna drop those this time and pick the wing connector type B. And that should do it. It's ugly, but it works. Now these don't come with any ailerons, so Elevon 1 is going to go on the end of the... Make sure you have your symmetry on. And you rotate with WASD and Q and E. And you just got to find the right one, which I can never remember, so just play around with that. And I'm going to put it at the edge of the wing. Yeah, it's not the prettiest plane, but it'll work. It'll work. Famous last words. Put some tail fins on. Right. Yeah, trying to get it like that. It looks good. And then you turn symmetry on to give yourself a little rudder. It's starting to look like an airplane. The wings are a little bit short, but remember we have very little space before we upgrade our runway anyway. Next, you're going to need some engines. So the first thing we're going to do is grab the fuel tanks and get your symmetry back on. At least this is what I do. Here's the MK0 liquid fuel fuselage. It's tiny. And I like to put them under the wing. But as you can see, they kind of sink into the wing as it is right now. But if you turn off your snap, so you get a little nice circle there, you see they actually snap better to the surface of the wing. I'm just going to plop that right there. Looking good. Actually, let's put them further out. There. Just kind of like that. And then we're going to need some engines. And the only one you have, or should have at this point, if you followed this video along, is the J20 Juno basic jet engine. It's tiny. That's why I like to have two. And pop that on there. Last thing you need for the engine is an intake. The small circular intake fits right up front. And look at that. You kind of have something that looks like an aircraft engine. Pretty cool, huh? Now the last thing we're going to need, I'm turning the snap back on, by the way, and symmetry off, is the landing gears. And let me warn you right off the bat, these first landing gears you get, they're a pain in the you-know-what. They like to explode. They have kind of toned that down a little bit, and that's why I waited till the version 4.41 is that we're gonna work on these little gears. They're still bouncy, irritatingly enough, extremely bouncy. But we'll just deal with it. So a lot of people actually wait until you get to unlock the next set of wheels, because those are much better. They're retractable, and all these aren't. They're fixed gears. So that's your front gear. You can use these for all of them, but let's role play this and use the LY1 fixed landing gear. You need two of those on the back, and I'm keeping the center of mass open because you don't want to put the gears way back here. Yeah, that's where a lot of people make mistakes, because you can think of your landing gear as the pivot point of the aircraft when it's on the ground. And the further back the wheel is, the more weight the wings have to lift to pivot the aircraft up in the air. So put it close. Put it close to the center of mass, not on it. I wouldn't recommend that, because then your plane will just tilt back on the runway. So put it like right behind it, like that. That's fine right there. And now you can see how low these gears are. I don't like that. It's kind of like a lowrider aircraft, and it doesn't do very well on takeoff, because then you lose your back end. So what you can do, or what I do with that, is first off, I don't want these to be misaligned like that, so go up into your rotate tool. You get these little rotate icons or tools. Hold down shift for the little fine tune controls, and with shift a couple of times so they're level. You can see that green line right there will be pretty straight, and then you know you're done. Go back to your place. And then I go to the move tool, because I don't want it this low to the ground. We're going to be scraping our belly. So I'm going to do the move tool, select your gear, hold down shift, and move it. I know it looks not that great because it's floating in midair. I'm going to even move it down further, like that. Right? And you can do the same thing with your front gear. Move it down a bit. And what you can do, well, you can't do it right now because you don't have any struts, but I usually put, when I have parts that are disconnected like that, I put struts on it to make it look like it's connected. Just a thought. But that's going to do it for the aircraft, so let's go ahead, we'll save this one. Call it first plane. And save, and let's go ahead and go to the runway. And there we have it. See, it's popping up and down like little, for some reason, this thing is sinking into the ground, into the plane. Yeah, they're still buggy. I don't know why they broke, these things broke. Well, that's, yeah, we're kind of nosing down. Don't like it, but actually, let's go back to the space plane here and see what happened. Why didn't it stick? I told you to go down. Yeah. Save. Will that work better, or does it actually just break? Learning things. Learning things. Okay, that's a little better. Yeah. Doesn't look that great, but it works. So let's full throttle, SAS on. I am using the keyboard. You steer the plane with WAS and D, Q and E. Q and E will roll the plane left and right, and A and D will use your rudder, as you can see there. Q and E, and W and S is up and down, kind of like normal flight controls. And let's stage that and take off. Now it's showing me I have half a tank of fuel. That's because I emptied this. And that's another fix they have in the game. They actually flatten the runway so it's not bumpy, because what people used to do, just go out in the grass and take off. And here we go. And we are now flying our first plane. Now don't get discouraged. Landing this thing with these gears is a serious pain. So I do recommend that you collect enough science to get the next tier of landing gears before you completely lose your mind by blowing up your aircraft. I will show you. I'm going to try to land this thing. It can be done. It's just extremely, extremely touchy. We're going to throttle all the way down. How about we quick save it up here, so when I do crash, it's not if, it's when. And of course, remember, your plane is only as good as the pilot. We're coming in pretty good. Coming in pretty good. Let's see how we do. You want to go nice and easy. Nice and easy. Oh, don't panic. There we go. Hit the brakes. Oh no, run off the runway. It's good enough. And also, if you are having trouble controlling the aircraft, it's too touchy. If you look down in your left-hand corner here, if you push caps lock, you turn on your fine-tune controls, and it will not. It'll be a much smoother experience. So there you have it, a landing. Not great, but it's a landing nonetheless, and the wheels are working. Just keep in mind they will blow up if you hit it any harder than that. They are explosive and bouncy, and yeah, just don't get discouraged. Just practice. Keep practicing, and you'll do all right. But that's going to do it for this this episode. Next time is going to be getting into your first orbit with the very first parts, and all of this is mod free so that everybody can do it. And I'm not using any parts on the DLC in case you haven't purchased that, so you will still be able to watch this video. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.